What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? We are here for a quick drop today. So we are here to talk a little bit about the girl who cried wolf, honey. Kalinda Collier, I believe. Yes, Kalinda Collier. Now, excuse me, Kalina. Kalina Collier. You guys, Kalina Collier is a flight attendant, I think former flight attendant, who was making the rounds last week with all sorts of hashtags. Where is Kalina? Um, After a video of her went viral in which she said that she had been abducted, she was in Jamaica, they were not letting her leave. What we later came to find out, I found this out yesterday. I'm not sure exactly when the news came out, but I found out yesterday that basically this was all a ruse. Now, I'm gonna read you a little bit of this. This is coming from Baller Report. Baller Alert. Excuse me. Um, According to the Jamaica overseer, the woman named Kalina Collier went as far as faking an abduction and posting videos on social media claiming to be in distress as she waited out her mandatory 14-day quarantine. The Observer claims that Collier used social media to plead to influencers and celebrities like Amanda Seales to convince them that she was being held against her will in Jamaica due to a false positive COVID-19 result. Many Jamaican media outlets claim Collier tested positive twice when she was expected to depart the island, but she maintained the test results were wrong. So you know more than the doctors now. That's what. Okay. Collier arrived in Jamaica with a group of friends on January 28th and was scheduled to depart on February the 1st. So she was there for like a little weekend getaway, a little weekend boop boop, little weekend romp. Okay, we got it. On January 30th, however, Collier did take a test that returned positive. Took a second test an hour later and it was negative. Because of the conflicting test results, the Ministry of Health and Wellness recommended that she take a PCR test. I'm assuming that that's like a more advanced test. I'm assuming on February the 2nd, which yielded a positive result. She was therefore ordered to stay in Jamaica in quarantine for 14 days. So here's the thing, you guys. I get it. It is inconvenient. We got that. But death is permanent. She was staying at the Coral Spring Hotel. And they said that they would allow her to stay at their hotel without any additional cost. Probably because she had already been in that room. They was going to have to clean it, fumigate it, bleach it, and everything else anyway. So they probably was like, girl, you might as well go ahead and stay in that daggone room because, you know, when you leave that whole area down anyway. So we're going to probably go ahead and seclude you for the next 2 weeks. We'll bring you some food. You got all the Wi-Fi you need. Okay? And in 2 weeks, we're going to see you, girl. We're going to give you a ride to the airport. I get wanting to go home. I get not wanting the inconvenience of having to be quarantined by yourself for 2 weeks in a country you're not familiar with. Because I'm sure her friends tested negative and they went on and went home. I get all of the above. But here's what you don't do, or here's what you can't do, or here's what you shouldn't do. What you shouldn't do is fake an abduction. Because there are way too many girls out here that are being trafficked. There are way too many serious situations for you to play, waste time, resources, energy, and just people's sympathy. Like even somebody who just may have simply retweeted it, reposted it, sent it out to their social media. I know somebody, YouTubers, who were posting it and doing videos, and people who were actually reaching out to agencies that deal with trafficking, who were calling this resort, calling the embassy and things like that, because they really thought this girl was being held against her will, because they believed what you said, because they had no reason not to. And so the problem now is it all comes out that this was a fluke because you were a spoiled ass brat who wanted to go home. Here's the reality of the situation. Anybody in this day and age during COVID that chooses to travel, you have to understand and be willing to accept the risk and consequences that come with traveling, including death. I mean, I've traveled during the pandemic. I traveled this summer. I drove instead of flew because I thought that would be safer for me. But I did travel this summer, right? And I'm actually planning a trip this summer coming up. And I've already talked to the resort. And the resort already told me, before you get here, You need to have a COVID test within 72 hours that is negative. If not, you're gonna be in quarantine for 2 weeks. Well, hell, I'm only gonna be there for 6 days, so that don't work. So I was like, okay, cool. I know that that's what I have to do. I have to put that in place. I have to be ready because they've already told me you can't come up. You're not even walking up in the door without a COVID test. Got it. Got it. I've seen where in Australia, mandatory. Not only is it mandatory that you go into quarantine, guess what? You're paying for it. So in this situation, the hotel was willing to help this because they do have um quarantine that's run by the country, and they were like, rather than send you over there to that state run facility, you can stay here at this nice resort. Now the resort has gotten a lot of backlash because she said she was being held against her will at this resort. This is a brand new resort. Now in the middle of COVID, opening up a new resort is already a risk because people just aren't traveling like that, Jamaica or no, people just ain't traveling like that. So you already are playing games and taking a risk. Now you're gonna risk putting these people out of business because now the first thing that's gonna come up when anybody Googles is this story. And it may or may not come up that it was a fluke. Y'all know how the algorithms work with these with social media. It's all about what got the most hits is what you see first. It's all about what pay, like the ads that you see. You know what I'm saying? Like it's an algorithm. We all know, even think about a newspaper. The headline is on the front page, the retraction is on the back. So everybody's going to see that this girl was being held against her will at this particular resort. Ain't nobody going to see that it was a fluke unless they keep scrolling. Um, I'm not sure what's going to happen with this young lady. Usually in cases like this, um, at the very least, that person ends up having to pay restitution for resources that were wasted. Um, when people are looking for you, I don't know, because it seemed like this fluke only went on for like 2 or 3 days. So I don't think there was any major like financial hits as far as that's concerned. I do believe she lost her job. She was a flight attendant, so I do believe she. Okay, let me talk about this, and then I ain't gonna talk too much longer because this ain't gonna be a whole long thing. You were willing. You got two positive tests and a negative test. And the third test that you took was a more advanced version of it, so it's supposed to be more accurate. You were willing to risk not only the health of yourself, because the reality is they're telling you have COVID. You are willing to risk your health. On top of willing to risk your health, you're willing to risk the health of every single person you were getting ready to come into contact with just to get home. So that means the cab driver that took you to the airport, the ticket agent at the airport, anybody that walked next to you, near you, around you. If you stopped to get something out the little convenience shopping and got you a magazine and some chips. If you sat next to somebody while you was waiting for your flight. All of your friends who you were traveling with, going to the bathroom, getting on the plane, anybody you came into contact with on the plane. If you had a layover, getting off the plane, if you stopped and got something to eat, the cab driver or the Uber driver to get you back home. Like, you were willing to put all of those people at risk for what? For what? Because if you work for the airline, you can't go to work unless you have a negative test. So you do all of that to come home just to go to work, just to get tested and tested positive and still end up having to go home for 2 weeks. Girl, what are you doing? Like, I get it. I absolutely get all of the above. Like, I don't think I'd want to be quarantined in a foreign country for 2 weeks by myself either. Like, no, that's probably not something I would want to do. But in this day and age, that was the risk that you knew you were taking by getting on that plane and going to Jamaica for the weekend to do a little girls getaway with your friends. Listen, most of us have taken that calculated risk in the last year. I have friends who've traveled, who've gotten on planes. I have friends who've gotten married. I've had friends who've gone on vacations. Like, we've all taken that calculated risk. The difference is we didn't want to hold a whole country hostage to punish them because we tested positive. The sad thing is, the next time this might happen to a young lady, people are going to think twice about wanting to help. Why? Because who wants to look like a fool for a second time? Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.